All right. We are live from Thailand and New Zealand. Only in this day and age we could do this. You know what I mean?
I
From two
love, I
different
love it.
locations.
I absolutely love how you just started that show. Like you were just like, let's just go live, fuck it. And I was thought in my head, I was like, that's what I say to myself after I make most of my life decisions. I'm just, I just decide to do it and then just go, fuck it, let's just do it.
Hey,
Like, well,
that's
that's my
sometimes
that's my decision making process for life. So I was happy to see you share my life tips. If I ever write a motivational book, it'll just be like it'll be one page, it'll be one word. It'll just be like, just say to yourself, fuck it,
your
let's
book
go.
your book is like one word in the first page and then 5,000 pages later at the end, the rest of your quote is there. You know what I mean? And that's not a bad way to write a book, to be honest. You know what I mean?
That's not a bad money making scheme.
It's not, man. I'm pretty sure someone's
Call
already
that.
tried it.
It's along the lines of the Mike Jackson eye poke, I believe. Man, I just watched
Yeah.
that back. I just watched that back. My man. I give him a clap because he finessed. He finessed everybody on it. Because I hadn't watched that fight yet. I started watching from the Tyson Pedro fight. Like I wanted to see my boy Pedro, but then I saw the controversy from the Mike Jackson getting like a DQ win, so I went back and watched my man finessed. But he doesn't realize that people have like zoom on their cameras these days, and you know how high tech the cameras are. People are gonna find that. You go
Yeah.
back and you look like it was from where this is my first take. This is my like first take looking at it. Don't even look like it looked bad, the gouge when he was pushing away, but from when I zoomed into it, his finger didn't go in his eye. He's like here below the eye, and he's like
Uh,
pushing on the eye. It didn't even go between the eyelids onto the eyeball. Is that like a eye poke if you get poked like in the skin under your eye? Like should that
maybe
be
he
a
went like like how baseball pitchers they do these like weird pitches and
I
shit.
don't know,
Maybe he did
just
the
from me,
weird.
just from looking at it, the guy like straight up after he gets his hand raised, oh look, I've been poked in the eye like many times. That's why you can get a DQ win off a eye poke because it's so serious, right? Because you only get two eyeballs. You don't want to lose either one of them. Like that's why it's like people have lost eyes in the past. People have had their eyes scratched and gotten like all sorts of trouble getting detached retinas. Like this is a major problem. So it's like to be respected. But that was from where I'm sitting, like, and I'm not even gonna hate on him for it because that like he was losing that fight, and he finessed his way out of it. Is from where I'm looking at it. You know what I mean? Like I've had my eyes poked before. He was like trying to put the show on like just before he gets his hand raised, but he like couldn't shut one eye without like shutting both. He could only shut like both of them. Usually, if you're like trying to like fight it, like your eye, you physically can't open that eye because it's like damaged. The muscles around the eye have like identified an injury. They lock tight shut. Like you cannot for the life of you get that, and that takes time for everything to relax. But he gets his hand raised, and then he's just standing there with like both eyes, like
Just normal.
I mean, like eye poke, yeah, lose a point, can understand that, but fight ender, I don't think that's a fight ender. That's when we start. That's when we start getting into trouble. You know, that's when like that's why it's so respected. But if you push this to the point where it's like boycott, cry wolf situation, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's a tough one for me. There, a round of
Well,
applause for Ness. My
then
guy,
all we
my guy
got is
finessed
first
him.
takes. All we got is first takes on here. You know why? Because we don't even watch the press conferences. We don't even like wait until the dust settles, or just like fuck it, let's just
you just you
respond
just
and react?
you just get like influenced by everyone else. Like you watch that stuff, like you do. Like I don't even like watching fights. I don't even like watching fights with like commentary, because the amount that like a commentator can affect your, like, if it's a big fight, I'll unless I'm watching it like with a group of people, because then obviously no one wants to listen to my music. They want to hear Joe Rogan or something like that. But if I'm just watching fights like by myself, I mute it and put music on. Like that's just how I enjoy watching the fights, because then I can see my interpretation of the fight. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I'm experienced enough to look at the fight, know what's going on, and interpret it. Like I kind of, when there's commentators as well, I kind of zone out too. Like I'll go away, do something, like, and then I hear them scream, and you're talking, having a conversation with someone, you hear a scream, you look over, oh, what happened? And the commentator can kind of fill you into the situation. But yeah, it's it's lazy, right? It's lazy. I feel like not like, of course, commentators are great, like for like a mainstream audience, right? Because a lot of people don't actually like know what's going on, so it's good to have them filled in. But it comes to a certain point where I feel like, you're kind of just using. I just use the commentators if I'm not really watching it.
Well, I think you could use the commentators as someone to listen to and just like hate on, because that's what a lot of people do, is they just listen to commentary and they just want
It's
to
a
hate
tough
on what they're
gig, bro.
saying.
Like it's a tough gig. Like commentary is 100% like a tough. Like it's like a because it's hard to be like critical of someone without coming across like you're like hating on them, or trying to get under their skin or something like that. But to be like an objective commentator, you have to get into people sometimes. You have to say that was a mistake. You should have done this. But then you open the door for people to come back to you. Commentary's a tough gig. That's a gig that I would steer well clear of.
Well, if the commentary or the commentators, they did their job as commentators, you know what I mean? And they're going to make mistakes, just like ref makes mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes, right? But I just don't like it when the commentators are acting like they're on a podcast and they're just bullshitting and like laughing at each other. And like, that's not professional commentary.
That's the funny thing though. Like that's the kind of commentary that people, like a mainstream audience, values
They
the
do.
most. That's like the incredibly funny thing about it. Like when Daniel Cormier is like serious and getting into the wrestling, like that's good. Like that's world class. But people love it when he's just laughing, joking, poking fun with Bisbing. Like they're just having like a pretty much conversation as mates. Like that's like the funny thing about the whole thing, is people don't want the serious play by play, super analytic, super technical like breakdown of fights. Like that's not what people are after. People are after, obviously it's like you've got a world champion sitting there. He's not gonna. He's got a firm understanding of the sport, but people, like a mainstream, they just want, it's fun. Like that's they enjoy that like fun aspect of it, like a lot more.
Oh, they definitely do. Well, you make a great point about the commentaries, more for like the mass audience that probably watches fights every couple of weeks and doesn't really have a good understanding of like what's going on. But
I would
him
say
and Rogan.
I would say this. When you come to a point where you're watching the UFC and the commentary is agitating you and pissing you off, and they're not talking about what you're seeing, that is the time you have reached the level. That's the moment. You've hit the moment where it's time to put your music on, mute the television, and watch the fights. If you've reached the stage where you're smart enough to watch fights by yourself. If the commentators piss you off and they're not seeing what you're seeing, then congratulations, my friend. You've graduated to the point where you can have your own opinion.
you start your own podcast and all that good stuff. Nowadays that's what people do is they get angry about something and they start a podcast about it. But I wish they would have options like no commentary, but you could hear all the sounds of the corners. And do they have that?
Yeah. I'm not sure. That's not one. That's not something I've heard of.
They need to have that. But looking at Mike Jackson, the victim of this eye poke, man, he's had a very unique journey through the UFC. He made his UFC debut.
I just know he fought Mickey Gall, right?
No, he fought
he fought CM Punk.
And that was turned into a no contest. Even though
and then he lost the fight after that.
And then he had a bunch of fights. He had 2 fights in 2021 that just fell through. One because, and it's with the same guy, Dean Barry, that he fought twice. The fight was.
Where was that cat from as well? Like where did they find that guy?
Dean Barry, I think he's been like in talks with the UFC to get signed. I think he got signed and then they didn't sign. I don't know what exactly happened, but he finally got a fight. And when they match you up against Mike Jackson, no hate on Mike Jackson, but he only has 1 fight in the UFC. And then when they match you up against him, it's almost like you better win this motherfucking fight, dude. Like we're giving you a layup.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah, but it didn't happen.
They were trying to give CM Punk a layup, and it didn't work.
Exactly. So Mike Jackson is just throwing a wrench into everything that they're trying to do.
Didn't he? This is only my memory of him. He lost. He beat CM Punk, and then he's like a bit critical of he was throwing shade at Dana White or something like that. And then I hadn't seen him fight again, so I just assumed that had something to do with it. That him like being a bit. Yeah. There's always like stuff that goes on behind the scenes. Exactly. Like you see a fighter get cut out of nowhere, and you're just like, "What? This guy's on a win streak," and it's like he must be hard, and terribly hard to deal with in a negotiating a fight or trying to get to an accept a fight.
Well, it could be him. It could be his management. It could be his coaches. It could be something behind the scenes that we have no idea about that caused him. But you are right. He did make his UFC debut against Mickey Gall in 2016 and lost by, rear naked choke, right, in 45 seconds. Then he came back and fought CM Punk, and that was turned into a no contest. I believe instead of trying to finish the fight against CM Punk, he was like slapping him on the ass and like playing around too much during the fight. And that's when Dana White was pissed off. And maybe that's what caused the delay of the return. And then a couple cancel fights.
We're 13 minutes in, and we're still talking about Mike Jackson. Like, oh fuck, I want to move. Yeah. I want to.
Well, there's been a lot of we gotta move on. But there's been
Tyson Pedro.
Tyson comes back. Oh, man, he got Eugene in the corner. I didn't expect Eugene to be in the corner, but how much training did he do over there at City?
He hasn't been here since he did he hasn't been here for a while. It's just probably just the lockdowns in New Zealand have just been like terrible. But like it's finally done. But he was working with Eugene because obviously Eugene was stuck out of the country with Israel for a couple of months. Eugene went to freestyle MMA and helped out with Volk's camp and was there with Joe Lopez gym and Alexander Volkanovski, and then Tyson Pedro must have come down because that's Windang's pretty close to Sydney where Tyson Pedro is training. So Pedro came down and Carlos was there, so they had a bigger guy to move around with, and Eugene was training with Pedro there. So he must have. I know they always talk. I know. They study fights together, or maybe Tyson Pedro goes to him for like his opinion on a guy or how he should technically approach something. But yeah, they did work together for maybe a month for this fight.
Yeah, and I think he said in an interview with Chris from I believe Chris is from the NZ Herald. I'm not for sure, but Chris did an interview with
Chris
Tyson.
Reeve.
Chris Reeve, shout out to Chris Reeve. And I think Tyson said after this fight he's gonna go and do like a full camp at City. I think he went to City for a couple of weeks, maybe while you were gone. You know, one of your fights in the last year or so. But yeah, it seems like it's great to see someone come back from such a long layoff, going through so many injuries. You could see it in his emotions, man. Like after the fight, that this was just like the hardest thing that he's ever been through, and I couldn't even imagine, you know, what did they say? Like when they did the surgery on his knee, they put the something in the wrong spot, and it fucked up his knee even more. The surgeon did, or it was something during the commentary. But
Well,
yeah,
that's
Tyson looked great.
yeah, I just know about like knee surgeries and stuff like that. If you injure the same one twice, like they can't then they then have to. Oh, bro, it's like I'm gonna sound dumb with my my human
Medical advice.
biology. I'm just gonna leave it. Like I was like gonna get into it. I was like, look, guys, I'm gonna put an insight on this one. So this is how knee surgeries, and I got no idea. But it took him 3 years. He come back after 3 years, absolutely like, man, that must be crazy. That will break a lot of men's backs, like having to sit out of the cage for 3 years, watching like everyone from this side of the world doing well, getting paid, making money, making big moves, and so to get him back and to get him back in a fashion like that, where he looked incredibly impressive, didn't even get hit, and just a very dominating performance was, man, that's very happy. No, he was Tyson was training at City when I was here. He come over and he was training. Carlos Olberg injured him. I did not injure his knee. I was completely unrelated to the knee injury and take absolutely no responsibility. Carlos Olberg, dude. You gotta watch that guy.
Yeah, those two would, when you look at it, those two would be perfect training partners for each other. You know, what I mean, I'm pretty sure they probably feel the same way. It's just the weight, the size, the length. But Pedro, let's go back to his performance. That leg kick, it was at like a weird angle to where it just like collapsed. Just
completely folded his knee in. Yeah, he's gonna
yeah.
have some pretty. Again, not a knee expert, but that looks fucked.
Yeah,
that's my expert medical opinion of that knee.
Because when he went down, he kind of just like sat on the cage, and then like Tyson just punched him when he had his hands up, and then it looked like it just hit his glove, but maybe it went through. And then after that first punch, he just sat there like with his hands down, and Tyson just hit him again. It was just like,
oh, that's like that's why the ref just jumped in. Like that's like body language. A guy saying, "Nah, it's done. It's done. It's done. I don't need to." This fight is over. I'm on one leg. I'm getting beat up. I can't even see anything's coming. I'm just gonna sit down. I'm gonna sit down, close my eyes, and wait for this to be over.
Yeah, that's an interesting topic. Also, is like referee stoppages. Yesterday, at the Bellator, they had the I believe it was the flyweight title, the women's flyweight title as the main event, and what's her name? Liz Carmouche. She's the challenger, right? So she had the champion Velasquez in like a crucifix position, and she was like throwing down kind of light elbows and punches, and Velasquez couldn't get out of it. They stopped the fight, but it wasn't like she was doing that much damage to her. And a lot of people are up in arms about this because there was a title on the line. You know what I mean? When there's a title on the line, they feel like you should let it go further. But does that make sense? Does that make sense? Like a fight's a fight, right? If there's a title on the line, do you just let them go, take more damage? Do you believe in that logic?
Oh, two sides to the coin, right? Like me as the fighter, and then me as like a coach or someone that gonna spend a lifetime around the sport.
Mhm.
Yeah, there has to be like a blanket rule. There's always like been that unwritten rule that just like in a title fight, like let it go a little bit longer. But I'd say all they do, and they do the right thing, is they put the right people in the right spots for like those title fights. They give it to a guy like Herb Dean. They give it to like a super experienced referee because there are like a lot of judgment calls as a referee. Like not everything is set in stone. Yeah, there's like a lot of subtle things you can tell just from experience. Like when a guy is out of it. When a guy is like looking for a way out, and when a guy isn't looking for a way out. Like it's very, yeah. That's why they just need to put those super experienced referees in the right positions. But yeah, having a blanket rule and then an exception, like in a title fight, make sure the guy's really dead. Like,
yeah, that's kind of a fucked up thing, right?
That's a tough one. But they do tend to stop women fights, female fights, like a lot sooner, right? Like they're like far less like physical damage, or someone like in the men's fight, someone's getting ground and pound, like there has to be blood, or someone's gonna have to go limp or something like that for to stop it. But that makes sense as well. I don't know if that's like being more precautionary. Like that's because originally I have a female boxer I've trained for years, and originally like I was up in arms because women's professional boxing matches are 2 minutes and men's are 3 minutes. You know what I mean? Like it seemed confusing. Like amateurs all 2 minutes for men and women, but then professional men go to threes, and women stay at 2 minute rounds. And originally, like I was up in arms about it until I did a little bit more research into it. And the argument is that like women's muscles in their necks are smaller, so therefore they're more prone to concussion. So let's take the time that they're in the ring down to 2 minutes instead of keeping it up at 3 minutes for like safety. So I didn't want to get out there and start a huge campaign into like, no, women should be getting the same amount of brain damage as the men. Like this is fair is fair. Let's all have equal brain damage. I was like, I don't feel like that's a great campaign to get behind. So I just zipped my lip and sat back from that one. But yeah, it could be like a similar thing. Like they stop women fights potentially because I haven't actually read the studies or anything like that, but it makes sense. The neck muscles aren't as dense on females, so therefore they're more prone to concussion.
Two things I get out of that. Number one is Dan fighting for equality, phenomenal. You know, you fighting for equality in this sport, phenomenal.
Fighting for brain damage equality. That's right.
Equality, right? It did. But yeah, it's just like if you just go educate yourself a little bit on why a rule is a rule, you get to start to understand a little bit more and why they do things. And then there's on the flip side, there's stuff about the sport like 12-6 elbows that are illegal. It's like, can you guys go back and do some research on some stuff about elbows and know that the 12-6 elbow is not a death weapon? You know what I mean? That's what they say. It's like you could kill somebody if you throw a 12.
It actually sucks because like I've had them legal in a couple of fights here in New Zealand. Like they just go, in New Zealand they just scrap the rule. Like they're just like, that's stupid. Let's just get rid of the rule. You know what I mean? So they said UFC rules by except 12-6 elbows. I was like, man, that's 12 to. I think it would have been like 20, 21, 22. So I was like still like a young kid, and I was just like, what? I can do the 12-6 elbow. Like this is this illegal elbow. I was like, I can't wait to do this. So anyway, took the guy down, mounted him, and I'm like in mount. And I was like dropping like 12-6 elbows like this, just like, yeah, these are these deadly elbows. Then my arms like went dead. I was like, wow, I can't feel my arms. This is really not that effective. Because it's like all like muscle on this side. So like if you feel your elbow like that side is like there's like a bone tip. And if you like roll your hand in, then the bone like exposes to about there. But like all of this is like muscle. So if you're coming down on someone, unless you clip them with like the very tip, 90% of that impact is going to be like on the muscle. And like I had like both of my arms like swell up, and I like couldn't even close a fist anymore. So anyway, I changed my elbow attack and went for a submission. So I was like, this is not working. This elbow sucks.
Yeah, it could be. And I didn't understand. I didn't know that about that with the hand positioning of the elbow. Like, if you, what did you do?
And like
You
roll
turned
it.
roll it.
Yeah,
Oh,
roll it.
okay. You roll it up.
And you,
Oh,
because you
okay,
can
you roll
feel
it.
like you can feel, right, if
Oh,
I
yeah,
have
yeah.
if I roll my thumb in and I open my hand, you can feel
Mhm.
like there's bone like
Oh,
all
you
along
do.
here.
You do.
But if you roll it and then close a fist, your muscle like closes over the bone.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So if I elbow
Sure
you
does.
like that, with like my fucking fist tense, then I'm like hitting muscle. So I'm
Mhm.
eventually if I keep elbowing you, my arm is gonna swell up.
Yeah.
But if I elbow you like that with like a open hand, then it's like there's more bone, less muscle.
All right.
Science.
That makes sense, man. Yeah, exactly. Science. I didn't even know that. I didn't have no idea.
All my science is bro science. I have nothing. And all my science is from other guys at the gym telling me stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Testing.
That is all of the science I'm aware of.
It's like it circulates in the gym, and you test it out in the gym, and if it works, it works. You know, you do your
Like
thing.
I killed a guy with that. Nice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let's get into the main event. You know, I mean, two heavy hitters for the 115-pound division. You know, I think these are probably two of the heaviest hitters, and what do you know? The fight ends in a submission. Someone that does not really try for submissions, Jessica Andrade, ends up getting the standing arm triangle, the first standing arm triangle in the history of the UFC. And Andrade hasn't had a submission in over 6 years, and she does this, man. Andrade, I don't think she gets enough credit, man. Like, she is one of the GOATs of women's MMA, but nobody really talks about her. Look at her credentials, man. She's fought in 3 weight divisions competitively, fought for 2 world titles, one world title in the UFC. I don't think many women have done that. You know what I mean? Like, in their career with the UFC at all. Like, who do you know has fought 3 divisions competitively at the top 15 and has won a world title? I don't think there are any.
Nah, man. She's had a mad career. That was a mad fight. She was starting to
Mhm.
get
Yeah.
lit up. Like,
Yeah.
like when you're lighting someone up and they grab a submission, like they're gonna go all in on that submission. Like you're gonna squeeze that to death. But like mad the way she finished it. But yeah, she was starting to get Lemos was had it timing down. She was starting to let
Mhm.
things go. Those kicks, man, she comes right through with that right hand lip hook. Ooh, she had some pretty sweet striking.
Yeah, Andrade got clipped by one of the left hooks, I believe, and it kind of woke her up a little bit, like, oh, you know, because Lemos
It
comes in
does.
with
It
like a
does.
much longer reach, but looks like she can match that power with Andrade. You know what I mean? Because Andrade has probably one of the nastiest knockouts, you know, ever in the UFC. Just, you know, the one, I think it was your card. Was it the card that you headlined in New Zealand?
Which
Where
one?
she knocked out Carolina. Was that in New Zealand? Fuck. I think that was in New
Is that
Zealand.
a
Maybe that was like a couple years back, but let me see. But yeah, that knockout is probably like one punch. She slept her, like one punch. Andrade slept her
Yeah, I
like one
remember the
punch.
knockout. I remember the knockout.
Oh no, that was 288. My bad. That was 288. But yeah, that was a nasty knockout. Anyways, that was in the New Zealand. But yeah, so what do you think about Lemos, man? I don't think she really loses too much with this loss. You know, this was her first main event. You know, this was
Well,
like her
yeah, it's not
biggest.
like if first main event, she's like ranked number 10. It's like what's the worst? Like she could probably still, because she's fought in the main event, and obviously that raises your kind of exposure. She could even still fight up, even coming off a loss, like fight fight at 10 or something like that. Like, I don't think she was doing well. She got caught in a pretty crazy submission. That's like the funny thing about it. Like when you catch someone with like a good shot, or even when you get hit with a good shot, like that gets your then you turn that fight or flight on. Like that's really what like switches that fight or flight on, and you start like fighting more of instincts. The adrenaline starts flowing because you've been hit, and you're now like tense, you're nervous, like so whatever you get, you like go in, you go all in. You kind of, with that adrenaline flowing and switching into like that fight or flight mode, like that's when you feel like super strong, and you feel like, because you've got that extra adrenaline like coursing through your veins, you can do some pretty cool stuff. And like that's kind of what I saw from the fight. She clipped her with that hand and just woke her up, man. She started dipping in, grabbed the first thing she could get a hold of, and that's all she wrote.
And it just shows how strong Andrade is for her size, you know what I mean? Because once she got that locked in, Lemos just couldn't get out of it. Like even if she tried to power out of it, she wasn't able to power out of it. And she even like switched positions with her hand positioning when she was holding that choke to like kind of get deeper and deeper and deeper. And that could have been moments for Lemos to get out of that position, but she just couldn't get out. And guess what happens? Andrade now got 2 back-to-back finishes, and she's chasing after that title once again, man. I think she's gonna end up, making it again somehow, some way, back up to that title fight at 115. She's just too good, and she's not even really that old, you know what I mean? Like what? She's 30 years old. Her record is what, 23-9, which
what could it be then? Do you think it's maybe because she doesn't speak? She didn't speak English, right?
No,
she doesn't speak English. That definitely has to hurt. Like how Aldo ever speak English?
No, he didn't.
Maybe it's just a Brazilian thing. Because what was the big thing about Anderson Silva? He was just like faking it. The guy can speak like super pure. But he would always do his post-fight speeches in Portuguese, right? Like he would only do his post-fight speeches in Portuguese. But then people were coming out and saying like he speaks the King's English. Like this guy's fluent. So it's like a weird. Maybe the Portuguese get like super upset if you're not speaking.
Yeah. Well, from I think with the Anderson Silva thing is that he spoke English, but it wasn't like good enough to where if he was being interviewed back then, when Chael was fighting him, it wasn't good enough to be when he's interviewed to respond to something, right? But if it was like you run into him at the gym, you'd be like, "What's up, Anderson?" He's like, "What's up, man? How you doing?" Right? Like that's probably the level of English he had, and people were like, "Oh, he could speak English." Now, if you interview him, he's comfortable like in himself to like do the whole interview in English. But yeah, that was the big knock on him. I think Aldo would have been a way bigger star. I think if you imagine that world tour with Conor, if Aldo was speaking English, that would have been a way bigger media tour.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. That would have been massive. That would have been a far bigger it's like undervalued, I guess. I saw Ruby was complaining about what's that guy, because he's got that guy. He's fighting Neil Magny.
Shavkat.
Yeah. He was going on like Shavkat's got the same credentials as comes up, but he's not getting these opportunities. I was like, Ruby, you can't get this. You couldn't teach this kid to say smash him. That's 2 words. Get him to get on the mic and say smash him after the fight. Boom, bang, bing, fighting the top 5, and he's in the money straight away.
You're right, though.
And he's from the wrong country. He's from the wrong country. He's from Kazakhstan.
You're right. He just needs like a couple like liners, like a comedian. You just need a couple of one-liners, and people will use that as a headline. Like that's what you
need. Originally, like Hamza didn't have. Yeah, he was kind of he would just go down that road, right? Like he just had a couple of. Everyone bases their character pretty much off someone else. You see a lot of people trying to mimic like Conor McGregor's thing, but even he's like a lot of the stuff he does is obviously emulated like a Chael Sonnen, or you pick a lot of things up offer fighters you like. You know what I mean? And Hamza was doing that earlier because he could see the success that Khabib was getting at the time. So he just took a couple of lines off of him. And now, obviously, people understand Hamza and they like he's his own individual now, his own certain style and things like that. But like originally, just to get things off the ground, it didn't take much to get to kind of go down that road, smash him.
Did you see that video of it has Hamza, Darren Till, and Joaquin Buckley. So a lot of people, they're like, who's Joaquin Buckley? Well, if you don't know who Joaquin Buckley is, he's the one who had that viral, the viral video or the highlight of him spin kicking Impa Kasanganai, and it just blew up, right? Well, I guess at the last UFC, maybe 273 or whatever, did you see the video? Joaquin Buckley goes up to Darren Till and he's like, we need to fight. You should fight me. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to fight, right? Main event, London, let's fight. And then Darren Till's, yeah. And then when Joaquin Buckley walks away, Hamza goes up to Darren Till and you could hear it, the audio. He's like, who is that guy? And Darren Till's like, I don't know. That's like a serious like insult, right? Like, this dude comes up to you, wants to fight you, and both dudes say they don't know who this guy is and just let him talk and leave. And he's probably leaving.
It's funny if it's like low. That's like some serious humor. If it's like low key being filmed, so it's not like a setup, and they're just like actually like, who's that guy?
What did he say? Buckley was trying to set him up, just to kind of get it all on footage, on video to like he agreed to the fight or whatever. But then that kind of backfired with the whole, who is that guy? I don't know who that guy is. But it's an insult, but not really, because you gotta think don't
that was
know
like the
every
original.
person.
That was the original insult. Was like Jeremy Stevens, Conor McGregor, right?
Yeah,
like who is that guy, right? He knew who he was, but he still pulled it out of the bag. Like it's the ultimate. That's the ultimate bummed you out. That's a.
Yeah, that's true. But I could see why they might not know who he is, though, to be honest with you. But he had that viral like spinning back kick knockout.
But that wasn't like him. Like, that's not like his personality or anything like that. Like, he didn't get like. Hamza's got like videos, like Darren Till was like got videos of him saying things and they go viral. You know what I mean? Like, that's like if you're actually getting going viral for your own personality, then a lot more people look into maybe potentially who you are. It's the kick, you know? It's like a physical. That's like a physical thing.
When going back to the main event between these girls, when you look at like the best, like skilled, like fighters out there, you know what I mean? Like in women's MMA, in women's UFC, like who do you see as like some of the like really, really high level, high skills, fighters that you would like to watch?
I love Rose's Namajunas' boxing. Shevchenko is just an absolute weapon. I love to watch Shevchenko. Just the way she puts everything together is like second to none. She's just world class. Let's start with those two. What about you?
I like to watch Andrade fight. She's exciting. You know who else I like to watch fight that hasn't fought in a long time is Tatiana Suarez. Like she was supposed to be the next one, right? She fought kind of like that heavy wrestling, ground and pound, just pressure, just grappling, just continuous, just forward. And it was going to be interesting to see her face off against all these strikers that are kind of been dominating the division for a few years now. But I like to watch her. Of course, Valentina. I think Valentina is probably she's probably going to end up being like one of the most, I don't know, iconic fighters that we just haven't seen the end of her story yet. But I feel like by the end, she'll end up being one of those like iconic figures in this sport, just because she just has that balance of just the skills, and she's like straight up martial artist, right? She's wherever she goes, she's training. Right? She just like there's no like weeks off for her. You know what I mean? Either she's training, shooting guns, or training or something, or filming a movie or some shit. But yeah, she's fun to watch.
She just needs Shevchenko just needs her Huckleberry. You know what I mean? She needs
she does.
She needs her opponent. Obviously, she's got the fights with the champ. Fuck, what was it? Why have I forgotten her name?
Nunez.
Yeah, Nunez. I don't know why I went mind blank on that. But like, obviously, she got the fights with the Nunez. But I think like everyone can agree that that's like a weight class that she shouldn't be competing in, or the weight class that's not her weight class. You know what I mean? Like, she needs her Huckleberry in her weight class to really propel her to superstar. Like, someone that's gonna, obviously she's got some head kick knockouts and these crazy techniques that she does and gets a lot of finishes and has just been an absolute dominator really at her weight class and just smashing through everyone. But yeah, to propel you to like that superstar, that's when you need that Forrest Griffin and Stephen Bonner. Like, if that had been a knockout, 30-second knockout, like, it wouldn't have had the same kind of audience. Those two guys wouldn't be the superstars, Hall of Fame, and the UFC wouldn't be what it is. Like, you need someone that can match your level and push your pace to really show people what you're made of, or show people your character, and gives like a more depth and understanding of who you are. Like, that's what really propels people to that next level.
Well, they're building a couple of young prospect / contenders right now. You know what I mean? That I think that they should take their time with those fighters, like a Macy Barber. You know, she fought tonight. You know, she implemented a good game plan, got a decision win. You know what I mean? She's still developing. She's still a work in progress. You got Casey O'Neill. You know what I mean? She's building a little bit of hype surrounding herself, and she's undefeated, which always is something that the UFC looks at. And she's taking her time as well. She's going to fight Jessica Ai next. I think that fight, she's the favorite going in. You know what I mean? She just, the skill set kind of matches up too, you know, with Valentina. Valentina's more of a striker, but she does have a solid ground game. And then you got Casey, young, undefeated, has really good ground game, developing her striking. I feel like 2 more fights, if she wins them both, they're gonna line her up, man, against Valentina, and that could be the bad guy, because Casey can play it if she wants to. She could play the bad guy.
I know she can. Nah, she's definitely like destined for man. Like, 1 or 2 fights, she could definitely call for a title shot. But she's been pretty vocal. Casey's been pretty vocal herself that, man, she's so fresh in the UFC. What, you been in the UFC for a year? Like, this is she's already ranked. She's already on her way to become a superstar. Like, yeah, take your time. Take your time. The UFC will push you as fast as they can push you. That's just what they do. It's in their interest to throw you in the deep end as soon as possible. It's in their interest. So it's up to you to take your time. But she's got like a super smart team around her. Super smart like management. They'll definitely guide them, kind of steer her in the right direction, and not fall down some of the follies that a lot of other fighters have fallen down, who have been in similar positions to her, young and hungry and undefeated. A lot of guys can go too deep too soon.
They can, and certain guys, it takes them 10 fights to get up to that level. You know what I mean? And winning most of them is in impressive ways. It's just sometimes some people just have a magnet attached to them that people are attracted to, you know, and then they keep winning. More people are attracted to them, and it just builds. It's a very non-scientific, non-bro science, you know, thing that happens. You never could pinpoint exactly like why like this person is going to be a star, or why they develop into a star, even if they lose 5 out of their last 10 fights. You know what I mean? It's just sometimes it works out that way. You know, you might not ever get into a title shot position, but you can make decent money, man. I feel like whoever's guiding your career, your coaches and yourself, you just have to make those choices and make realizations about what type of fighter you are or what you want to do in this sport at that level. But it's always fun watching everybody, man. Everybody that's got different goals and different reasons for fighting. It's just interesting to see how it all plays out. And I can't wait to be like a 60-year-old man and look back at some of these years that we get to fucking watch, man. Fucking like live in the moment of some of these great athletes that we just putting blood and guts on the line. It's fun, man.
It's funny. Yeah, it's like it's funny. Will it even still be like people's like main argument against fighters is like you're obviously getting punched in the head for living. There has to be some kind of cost for that. Like one of the main insults on the internet a fighter will receive is like you're gonna get CTE, right? You're gonna get CTE. I watched this Will Smith movie. You're gonna get CTE. But if that is the case, how this has to be like the last generation of fighters? Would you not agree? Like you can't let people do this if you're just gonna end up with like serious brain injuries down the line. Like that's a funny thing. I don't think it's. I feel like every individual, it's up to them alone. You know what I mean? I feel like I feel like that a brain disease is entirely. Like every individual is going to respond like very differently. I've seen a lot of guys only have a couple of fights and have concussion symptoms that they can't get rid of, and they have to retire because of that. Myself, I've been fighting like a very long time, take a lot of knocks to the head, like, and I still feel very fresh. I still feel like very good. So I think it's every individual, but it does. It's like a funny cloud hanging over the sport in general, I would say.
It's always going to be there. It's always going to be there. And to counter that, like let's say if this continues to happen about CTE and all that, and in 20 years, like people will be boycotting. That would have happened a long time ago in the NFL, because the NFL, there has been some major like athletes just going off the rails, man. I don't know if you follow the NFL that much, but like even like Aaron Hernandez, have you heard that story of like the guy from New England?
Like my bro science opinion on the whole thing is like we have always been super aware that it's like combat sports, like we've always known it's not good for you to be hitting the head that much, right? Like even this is for like a very long time. Like it's been around for boxing, like since you'd see like what's happened to guys like Muhammad Ali and that in their old age. Like combat sports has always been aware, especially for my generation, that getting hit in the head is not good for you. Like let's not take that much damage in training. If you get maybe knocked out in your fight, take some time off till you're completely recovered. But I would say for sports like heavy contact sports, like your rugby or rugby league, your football, where things like that, it's not been as respected for the same period of time as head trauma is being respected in combat sports. Like we've been very aware of it in combat sports. I feel like it's only new. It's only been like the last couple of years that they take out the head-to-head contact, and they used to just running a full, like these are the best athletes in the world, sprinting full tilt at each other, going like head-to-head. One could get knocked out. Like that wouldn't have been recognized like a couple of years ago in the past. Like same as rugby. Like I've seen it playing rugby. Like guys get knocked out, get up, like falling over the river. Like their coach tries to take them off, and they're like too proud. They're like, no, I'm staying on. I'm gonna finish the game. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't happen in combat. You get knocked out, you go home, right? Like you get knocked out in training. Like people are like, well, you're out for the next couple of months. Like you need to sit down and have a rest and take some time away. So I feel like it's been respected for a lot longer period of time in combat sports than it has in a lot of other sports where they haven't been as aware of it.
Maybe combat sports has allowed the other sports to realize that this contact, head-to-head contact, just running into, like you said, running into each other like 100 miles per hour. And I remember like playing football when I was younger in the States. And yeah, that's what we used to do as kids. Like we were like 13 years old.
Like
And the
they,
kids,
yeah, but you train like you train every day, like you're doing that every single
yeah.
day. Like we don't spar every day. We fight. What I fight twice a year, 3 times a year. Obviously, you take some damage there, but like in the gym, you're not. Especially now, like we're not taking damage or now I haven't been concussed in the gym since for like forever, like 5 years. I would say like 5 years till I've had like maybe more than that since I've had like any kind of concussion in the gym, which is like you save it for your fights, right? You save that kind of health and stuff like that for your fights when you're getting paid and putting it on the line. I feel like a lot of these other ones, like man, a guy will get knocked out playing like a game of rugby and then he'll play the next week. He's back out there. And the way that I understand like concussion is it's like swelling or bruise on your brain. And it's like anything with a bruise. You have a bruise on your arm. If you just keep poking the bruise like every day, like the bruise will never go away. It'll just continue to stay there. Like what you need to do is sit down, let it rest until it completely heals before you can return to any kind of contact.
One of the former captains of the All Blacks is over here training. Damn it. Why do I not remember his name? But he's such a nice guy, man. Like built like a tree. He's built like a tree. He's like
What's
he looks
his
like
name?
he's probably
He's at Bangtao.
Yeah, he's at Bangtao training right now. I met him last week.
Man.
George introduced me to him, but I'll figure it out. Next week I'll say who it is. But yeah, a lot of people know him. They're like, oh, he's the OG, and I'm like, man, he's just you would like a rugby player is just like massive head, shoulders, and it's like a fucking tree, right? Like legs is just fucking gigantic. Yeah, just even at his age, he's past being a player, but just it's incredible the size of some of these individuals, man. It's just insane.
You're a
But
Kiwi. You're a Kiwi legend. You're surrounded by them.
Yeah, definitely Kiwi legend. Yeah. Now the co-main event. Let's see what we got here with
No, not Clay Guida.
Yeah, Clay Guida, man. This was his last fight on his contract. So he didn't re-sign. So I guess he's a free agent.
No, Clay Guida.
But this Perez, right? This is his third knee bar in the UFC.
I have
5
never
fights.
heard of this kid before. How have I never heard of this kid? How do you get 3 knee bars? I never heard of you. Now I know.
Exactly. How? Okay, you explain to the people that don't know, and me myself, how hard is it to land a knee bar in a fight? Because I just think like that knee bar position is a very dangerous position to be in, and you have to be very good at timing the knee bar. If not, you're gonna get punched in the head tremendously.
That's a weird one. Rory. That's a weird submission to get like really good at. Like everyone's got like a couple of submissions that they're just there. You know what I mean? Like they're just always there. You don't have to work on them. You don't have to practice them. Like you just have your timing down for those submissions. Like they're your submissions. That's obviously the said submission. Rolling knee bar is just a weird one. You have to be very careful taking that man down. That's all I'm saying. I would be incredibly careful ever taking that man down.
Yeah, and
seems like a cool kid though. Seems like a cool kid.
Yeah, pulling that move on Clay Guida, who has probably been in every single position 100 different times through all the years that he's trained and practiced and fought, and wasn't able to get out of it. Just shows you the level of ground game that Perez has.
Well, just how quick it came on too. Like obviously, if a guy's already got 2 knee bar submissions coming into the fight, you're gonna have practiced it, right? I'm sure Clay Guida
I hope
drilled
so.
like, yeah, I'm sure he. I know he did. Like I'm sure he just drilled it to death, and look how quick the kid hit it. Like he just hit it. The transition was so smooth, man. There's not much you could do about it.
Yeah, he's definitely a threat. He's like in the lightweight division. He's probably in that like very crowded 16 to 30 range. You know what I mean?
16
Like,
to 30.
yeah,
They should increase. Maybe they need to increase the
increase
ranking.
the rankings to like 30.
Just do them to
Like,
30.
so next week you're gonna you just won your second fight. You're like, next week you're gonna be in the rankings. You know what I mean? Like that's how quick you'll be in the rankings.
Yeah, 27. I'm 27.
I'm 27th best in the world. You know what I mean? It doesn't have the rig right to like number 9.
Top 15.
You know what I mean?
Top 15. All right, I changed my mind already. Let's not rank. Take the hats off.
It's like Dana White, I'm the 28th best. You know what I mean? Like that's not a very good argument.
Sick of everyone running away from me, trying to protect their 27th ranking.
Yeah, trying to protect their spot in the rankings.
Trying to protect my. I'm 34th, man. I'm trying to protect my number.
That's just be hilarious to see. But yeah, I think this dude, he might end up being in a position where a lot of dudes that he might be offered might not take the fight, because that's going on in this sport, right? Not everybody's gonna take a fight. It's gotta be, you gotta make right decisions sometimes, you know what I mean? But I think he'll get into that spot. Yeah, so like there's some other things that happened today. Did you see the Tyson Fury fight?
I saw the finish. And I was talking to my boy Oscar. He said that's absolute madness. Well, I saw like part of the man. He said they're absolutely mad. Like the kind of crowd that guy brings. He said someone tried to steal his laptop. Like things are going.
What?
It must be all the gypsies, like, right? He's got like
Exactly.
a big gypsy fan base.
Well, hey, I love Tyson Fury because he just makes me laugh. Like it could be the most serious fucking situation. Like
Was
he's
that
facing off against.
Ask Francis Ngannou if he's got a big dick like that. Fucking, he's big weird, bro. Like
he's out of nowhere too. Just like doesn't have to do with anything that's going on.
Yeah. Come on, there's like a camera there. Like it's completely unnecessary. You're just doing this purely for your own entertainment at this point.
I think he was just trying to get a reaction out of Francis just to see if he knew what he was talking about, right? And then Francis was like, "What?"
Francis had no idea what he was on about.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, Tyson, man, he's hilarious. But this fight, man, I want to see it. I want to see it, and especially if they're making like this special rules thing that they're talking about.
The what? You want to see? You want to see what?
The special rules.
You want to see it? You want to see it?
I want to see special rules.
Stop.
I want to see Francis Ngannou.
Right? That's just PR, right? They're not serious. They're not serious. They're not
PR.
Serious. Get out of here. You're the man.
I wonder what happens with. I wonder what happens with Tyson.
I wonder what happens when a boxer fights a mixed martial artist. Like, get out of here, man. We've established this. This has been established.
Tyson is really trying to sell it though. Like he's really trying to. He's like, "Hey, we're not 140 pounders."
Anything. Like he couldn't get Dillian White to come to the press conference because obviously Dillian White's pretty funny, right? Like he puts tape over his mouth and says, "Like you got to pay me more if you want me to speak. Take the tape off." Yeah. So then he does one of the oldest tricks in the book. Floyd Mayweather pulled it. Is you drop the retirement fight card. Like that's obviously the next logical step, right? You just Mayweather did it for like at least 15 fights. Like when he come out and he's like, "This is my last one, guys. This is my retirement fight." So everyone's gonna want to watch your last fight, right? It's your last fight. It's not his last fight. It's just he couldn't get Dillian White to speak and sell the fight, so he had to went to step 2 of selling a fight, boxing marketing 102. That's what they do.
Well, people, someone in the chat was saying that they should just do what Rod Tang and Demetrius Johnson did. You know how they
Oh, silly
made those-
fight. Silly fight. Silly fight. Just silly.
I just want to see Francis
What did you think was going to
Ngannou.
happen? What did you think was going to happen?
Exactly happened what most people thought was going to happen, that Demetrius would go into the second round and choke him out, and exactly.
He doesn't know any jiu-jitsu.
Because when I went to Fairtex, right ahead of that fight, I actually went to Fairtex, the training center, end of last year when he was preparing for Demetrius Johnson, right?
Pattaya?
And yeah, in Pattaya, right? And I saw Rod Tang training, but all he was doing was doing Muay Thai. I didn't see. Well, I was only there for like 2 days, but only thing I saw him training was Muay Thai. But he does have a good jiu-jitsu coach, DJ Jackson. So maybe he was ready, but I guess you can't be ready.
You can't, like, this is not the Matrix. You can't just like download jiu-jitsu and be good at jiu-jitsu. Like, it takes. I can understand why he just didn't even bother. Like, are you gonna get better than Demetrius Johnson at jiu-jitsu in a couple of months? Like, no, absolute no chance. I like seeing things for fun. Like, if we're just doing it for fun, I want the promoter to come out and just tell me it's just for fun. Let's get a sumo wrestler fight a luchador for fun. You know what I mean? I love a bit of fun, but let's not sit around and pretend like this is serious. Like Francis Ngannou fighting Tyson Fury is like for serious, because we actually want to see what happens, right?
I do want to see what happens, Dan.
Yeah, but like in a car crash way, you want to see what happens.
Exactly.
Not like,
exactly.
Yeah. Not like I want to. Legit want to see what's better. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't think it's about that.
Let's just make the cage drop down from the top, and then throw a beer in there. I would like to see that. Like, I would still, if you give Francis Ngannou, Fury, and then put a cage and put a beer in there, like, I will pay you good money for that too. I will give you $100 pay-per-view just to watch that. But that doesn't mean that it's a legitimate. That doesn't mean it's a legitimate activity and a legitimate. I have legitimate questions as to what's happening.
Exactly. But yeah, I just want to see it in like you said, like a car crash. Not really who's better, because it doesn't. I don't think it will prove who's better, because they're from totally different sports. But just put it together and make a spectacle out of it, and yeah, maybe co-main event, have a bear fight a honey badger. I don't know. Just fucking put it in there. Just something. But
I'm still standing by my crowd fight. Get a guy out of the crowd for context. At least that has a purpose. At least there's like a scientific purpose to pulling a guy out of the crowd and putting him in there with a UFC fighter for context. So then we have like a baseline every now and then. Remind the people at home, like, oh, that's right. These guys are not shit.
Yeah. Well, there's always the guy, the Just Bleed guy. There's always those guys in the crowd, right?
Did you see the story about that guy? Did you not see the story? He doesn't even watch. He doesn't watch MMA anymore. My guy, the Just Bleed guy, doesn't even watch MMA anymore. He's like an accountant or something.
Yeah, I heard something like he's like some office, like regular.
It's like the saddest. It's like the saddest shit I ever heard. I've been staring at that guy for over a decade. Like, you swear that guy was still going to be a fan, right? Well, even he gave up.
Yeah, he did give up on us.
His bloodlust was food. Like, he fulfilled his bloodlust, and he moved on. He watches golf or some shit now. Like, he's just completely disregarded it.
That was the pinnacle of his life, right there. Just bleed, just flexing like he's Hulk Hogan.
That took me like a couple of days to get over that. Like, I was legit upset about that. I was like, if the Just Bleed guy can forget about us, I was like, they'll all forget about us.
That's true, man. Just bleed, just bleed. Yeah, the Just Bleed guy, man. That's a wild story. That he looked like he was like the ultimate fan, and then just like you said, he just gave up on everybody. Just like fuck this shit. Like I can't top Just Bleed. Like I can't go to the next. I can't continue watching this. And every time he fucking, if you do follow the sport, you just see yourself all the time because that shit comes out all the time, right? The meme or whatever, the little
He moved
gif
on.
of him. Yeah,
He
but
moved on. We had to let him go.
we do. There's like even like Brian Stan, he did an interview recently talking about how, because Brian Stan's a great analyst, right? It was a great fighter as well. But
That's one of my favorite. That's one of my
I mean,
favorite commentators of all time.
he is one of the best commentators of all time, man. And it's just like weird how like some of the best guys of something just leave, and he's just like he does miss it a little bit, but he doesn't. You know what I mean? It's
What was
almost
his
like Brian
reasoning?
Stan.
Why did he just leave us?
But he took a job, like it looked like he took a corporate job. I guess it was taking a toll on him or something. But yeah, it's another Just Bleed story, man. Just
I hate
even
that.
Brian
I hate
Stan.
stupid people being mean on the internet. Stop me from experiencing one of the greatest commentators of all time.
Yeah.
I hate stupid people on the internet. Brian Stan, you just don't click on their stupid comments, and it doesn't matter. I wish I would have been able to let them know my 5 cents. I was going to do it to you. You know, you put up your picture bent over, and that's gonna like be your logo. And then I saw like a couple of nice comments, like everyone's like commenting like, "Nah, hang in there, man, hang in there." So like things are gonna be all right. I was like, this is not realistic. I was like, I'm gonna have to make this realistic, and I was gonna comment on your Twitter like, "Your shit. You should give up. You should just give up now. Your shit." I was like, for realism, right? I think I'm still gonna do it. I think that's still my plan. I'll post every now and then. I'm just gonna have to just come in with some hateful comments, just to remind you. For context,
I want it,
right?
It's I want the full experience. Yeah,
yeah, it's the full experience. But they're gonna be surprises. They're gonna be. I'm gonna let you know right now. They're gonna come at the right time. You know what I mean?
You're gonna comment with some hateful, dreadful things, and then people are gonna be like, "Dan, come on, man! I thought we were cool, But then we'll start a feud. Context, exactly.
They're gonna be well researched too. You wait. You think you're prepared? You think you're prepared for a Dan Hooker onslaught? You're not prepared.
Hey, you got 5 months plus of time to like just out of nowhere come with some hard shit.
Chip away.
Keep on
chipping.
Keep on my manhood and just slowly.
If I'm able to break you and you leave and quit and go home.
Hey, hats off to you. Hats off to you if you can do that. And number two, if that actually does happen, I should have never ever even started doing it. You know what I mean? Like, why did you even
have to put up like the Britney Spears fan one of you like crying in your bed, like, "God, look, so mean. He's such a mean guy."
With my head shaved, you know what I mean? Like I had to just get rid of it all and shit. Just destroy it, you know what I mean? Just be a shell of myself. But
in all seriousness, I feel like it'll add to the experience. Realism is what we're going for.
Because everybody wants a silhouette, like as a logo of themselves. Like how Dan Henderson had that one where he knocked out Bisping, and he made that into his like logo, his silhouette, right? So that's when I saw that picture, I was just like, that's my silhouette right now. That's my logo right now. It like, shows like where I'm at right now. You know what I mean? Like I'm hunched over and like
I'm tired.
Should I continue this shit? Because this shit is hard. I'm tired as a motherfucker. And these other motherfuckers are screaming at me and shit like, go. Get your ass up, go. And I was just like, you're like, all right, I'm gonna go.
You come to the stage and you're like, I'm still tired from last month. I don't know what. When is the fun part?
Yeah, exactly. And I guess, this is the fun part. Bullshitting about it and talking about what's going on is the fun part, Like I got fighters already telling me like, "Hey, when you gonna come to like pro sparring? Like, why aren't you here yet?" And I'm like, "Yo, I'm slowly like they want to beat my ass. Like some of these fighters are like asking me like, I want to spar
Yeah,
you.
of
Like I want to
course,
see
of
how
course.
you could take a punch and shit." I'm like, damn, I gotta like really mentally prepare myself to just jump into the fire. But that's why I think it's fun. It's gonna be fun because like these fighters, of course they want to punch me or whatever, but that's part of sparring, and they want to kind of, it's in a way it's like them saying, I want to help you. You want to do this? I'm gonna help you by beating that ass. And I'm like,
Take it how you ever want to take it. You know what I mean?
exactly. And I'm gonna be talking shit too. If you're gonna beat my ass, and I know that you're gonna beat my ass, I'm gonna talk shit too. You might as well throw some words in there. You know what I mean? Just to
It's
get you
encouraged.
riled up.
Trust me.
Exactly.
Trust me. It's encouraged.
It's encouraged. I
I
can't
like it
wait,
when
man.
I like it when my prey fights back.
I like. Oh shit! The prey doesn't go out easy. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's for sure. And yeah, we got some good, like good fighters to train with out here. You know what I mean? All over the world. It's pretty interesting to see like the
How's
different walks of life.
how are the seminars at Bangkok? You had
The seminars were
Volkanovski
good.
and Super
Some
Bond.
secrets. Super
Some
Bond,
secrets.
like Muay Thai, I did it. I did a couple of the drilling stuff with for the Super Bond seminar, but like I did mostly a little bit more filming than anything. But for Volk, like I did the whole seminar with Volk and Joe, and they taught us some secrets, man. Some secrets, no cameras. You can't film shit. Some secrets. So I'll be on there. I'll be doing my little like my little slick shit.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
oh, oh, oh,
In my
oh,
mind, though.
oh,
In my mind, though, you know what I mean? In my mind, I'm just like slick, right? But then when my feet try to move, that shit ain't slick anymore. That shit about, So luckily, I had Woody as my training partner
Nice.
for the day. So he
Would
kind of
really
understands
want-
the
I
system
really
a little
wouldn't want
bit.
a man of that size on top of me. You know what I mean?
No, no, he's twice the size of me, and I'm not a little guy. But yeah, Woody's shout out to Woody. He's putting me through the motions and setting everything up. Another thing that came up, I think, during the last couple of days is open scoring. I don't know if we've ever talked about open scoring. No, I don't think we have. Like open scoring, I think a lot of people. My understanding of open scoring is that the fighters fight. There's a what is it? A scoreboard, and it has the judges around 1 through 5 or 1 through 3, and after every round, the scores go up. Boom, 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 and fighters, coaches, the crowd can see the score. What do you think about that, Dan? Like, would you enjoy having the scores like hanging up there like a basketball game or a football game or anything like that?
I'm indifferent. No, but like I understand both arguments. And again, like my fighter hat is like completely different to my coach's hat. Like you'll see like the things I say as like a coach or something like that to my fighters, and then how I approach the sport and how I fight are like two entirely separate entities. Like I think like Dana White's argument against it, right, is like a fighter's 2 rounds up. They see they're 2 rounds up on the score, then they just coast, right? They just move away, be defensive. They just coast it out. I think that will happen. Like that will happen a lot. You know what I mean? If there's like open scoring or something like that, or yeah, like there will be a lot of stalling. Right? I feel like a lot of fights will have more stalling. Will it be better in some cases? Yeah. Will it, for the most part, be more stalling? I feel like that's the way that it would go. Like, that's like the big. It's kind of like a mystery, right? Combat sports has always been like that. Boxing has always been like that. Like, it gets to the end, the two guys stand, and it's like that anticipation at the end, because a lot of people don't understand how fights are scored, or which way they were scored, and there are a few key details that are certainly open for interpretation. So it is a very tricky question. Like, you're going to lose that anticipation at the end, where there's the two guys standing there. Which one's going to get their hand raised? It was a close fight. Like, could go either way. So I feel like I would definitely understand it, like, if it got brought into play. But I'm not like, I wouldn't be against it. I'm not like hard for it, because I think it would encourage stalling, and we lose the anticipation at the end.
That excitement.
That excitement, you're gonna like lose that you're gonna lose that bit at the end.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That is something that we will lose. Like, we don't know exactly. It was a close fight, all 3 rounds, all 5 rounds. We don't know who's gonna win the fight. We have an idea, but we don't know for sure.
We have an idea, but we're not like sure, And sometimes you get a big surprise, or I don't know. It is, it is like suspenseful. You're gonna like lose that. You're gonna lose that part of the sport for what? For more stalling. Like, it's definitely not. It's definitely not gonna create more excitement in the sport. Like, in no way is it going to create more excitement in the sport. Like, look, they're saying, but if a guy knows he's 2 rounds down, well, then he's going to go out guns blazing, wild, trying to get the finish. And it's like, when you're losing a fight. Like, when trust me, when you're losing when you're 2 rounds down, and you should probably go out guns blazing. It's not, I would say, you're going to lose like a lot of excitement in the sport. Like, a lot of guys are just stall out the last round. Very rarely is someone going to be 2 rounds up and be like, you know what? I'm going to try to get this guy out of here. Like, because you have like the evidence is on the scoreboard. If I just coast, I get twice as much money.
Yeah. Well, you would have to put in a penalty for stalling, like a serious penalty. Like,
now we're adding more rules.
You have to, because if
I hate rules. I thought we just brought the rules in so we could explain to the normal people why we were fighting in the cage, and we were getting away with it. You know what I mean? Like, hey, let's just throw a couple rules in there. Oh no, this elbow is illegal. Oh yeah, we're scoring them. We wrote up all this scoring system, and you can't eye gouge them. I thought we just made up the silly rules so we could excuse fighting in a cage as a sport. Come on, we don't need more. We don't need more silly rules. I need less silly rules.
I understand that point. I understand the point of like, why create more rules to understand.
Now we're gonna have a scoreboard. The guy's gonna pull out a little yellow card at me, like, oh, yeah, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, it's too much for me. I don't even want to play your silly game anymore. Just let the boys play. Let the boys play.
You're right. Like, you do need to. Well, you do have to add certain rules to counterbalance, stuff that will happen, like you said, like stalling. And then also, it will alter coaching. Like, you have to have, different approaches to different types of rounds. Or after the first round, you figure out, these judges are scoring, this more than this. You could kind of figure that out as a coach. And then when you go into the corner, you have to implement the adjustments to your fighter, and telling them the judges seem like they're scoring takedowns more than striking volume or whatever, because you never know what the judges are scoring on. You don't know. You think but you don't know what's in their head. But I think some places should try it. Just try it out, like at the lower level, not in the UFC or Bellator or whatever. I think in the lower level they should try it out, and they have started slowly trying it out. It doesn't seem that bad, but We'll see. But I understand your point about, like the anticipation. Yeah, the anticipation definitely will be lost. They're like, but other people argue, say, oh, in football, that's the anticipation is lost. Or in baseball, when you watch it, the score, the anticipation is lost in that one. And when the fight's close, that's when you get more anticipation, or you get more out of the fighters or whatever. And I don't know. There's so many different levels of argument about open scoring. People try to make it so simple, but yeah, it has a domino effect. If you introduce it, you have to introduce new rules, and then the coaches have to adjust to a certain style that the judges are judging with in fight. You know what I mean? Like during the fight, they have to go in the corner and make sure that the fighter understands that this is what is being judged on. This is what's more valuable in this certain fight, which is not going to be known until the first round is over, right? Like you don't know, or that event starts, going, and you see how the judges are judging each round, and then you start to figure out, okay, these judges are taking this many points for this, or it's a never-ending fucking argument, and like until they just start implementing at the lower level to see like what's wrong and what's right with it, we will never know.
Yeah, like my argument is simply make judges more accountable. Like that's it. If something's controversial, well then like it can go through the commissions for all I care. Like if something's controversial, then the judge can just write a paragraph as to why they thought this fighter won the fight. Like it can be as simple as that. Like, but they need to be, so they're obviously not getting abused and bullied or anything crazy like that. But all you need to do is make them judges more accountable for their decisions, and then they obviously have to prove their understanding and knowledge of the sport. Like if they get asked for a simple paragraph as to why they thought this fighter, and they come up with something that's complete bullshit, or you know what I mean, and now they have it like written down in a blurb that they're a complete idiot. Well, now like we can look into removing that judge, or ask the commissions, like, look, this guy clearly doesn't know what they're talking about. Like the main problem with judges is there's just no accountability. They tick this guy, they tick that guy, they go home, nothing ever happens to them. They're the next event, like they never have to prove their understanding or their knowledge of the sport. It can be as simple as making the judges more, like the commissions making the judges more accountable for their decisions. And I feel like that over anything, like that, having open scoring is still not going to stop bad scoring. Like now the bad scoring will just be there like straight away. And well, you're going to get that response like straight away, but still like the judge doesn't have to be accountable for their scoring decision. And I guarantee you that if they bring in open scoring, they'll remove the judges from cage side. The judges won't. Yeah. They won't be allowed. They won't be allowed to sit cage side. You think like a judge makes a complete shit call that the 20,000, 10,000 fans in attendance aren't going to start throwing their beers at the judge, or it's not going to be very difficult for that judge to leave his seat, because it would be. It's what comes with that score, like that accountability is there straight away. I feel like just having them to prove their knowledge or their understanding of the sport somehow or some way would just make leaps and bounds and improvements in judging.
It will. Accountability, of course, always is going to improve everything with judging and open scoring, all of that. Like you said, you're right though. They cannot have the judges case side, because people will throw stuff at the judges. People will...
they won't get out of there. Like they're not leaving. Like, trust me.
You see a big ass Modelo can flying across the fucking
bang. Hey, man, one of those liter cans come flying down here.
Filled, just like a wall of fucking beer, just fucking drench them and shit. Yeah, I can see that happening.
If you ever throw a full can, you angry. You real. Those beers are $14 in those arenas. Like you're mad. Trust me.
You better make it worth your while, you know, if you're gonna throw that fucking thing, right? Launch it. Hey, before we leave, man, let's talk about, you know, RDA puts out a tweet, July, August, anybody? You respond. Let's talk.
I sat on that all day. I was like, you know what? Nah, I'm done. I was like, I'm not gonna talk shit. I'm, coming off some bad losses. I'm not gonna talk shit. I'm not gonna talk shit. He's not gonna take it. Let's just sit it out. No one else said nothing. He said, anybody? Hey, I'm your Huckleberry. You know what I mean?
August sounds good for you, huh? That sounds like a good little timeline.
August sounds good, mate. RDA, I like him.
When's Izzy supposed to be coming back? I think he's coming back in July or August, something like that, right?
There's things I know and things I am not aware I should say. So I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. There's like a lot of I have a lot of dates that I know are concrete, but I'm not sure everyone else should know that they're concrete. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna say for me, August. For everyone else, I don't know.
You don't know.
You know what I mean?
But I was thinking, like, you know, if you do go back into training camp, it'd be nice to be fighting on a card with one of your teammates, right? Because then your team could fly out together, which is probably the best situation for you guys in New Zealand. So if
we are open now, so like the last camp was anymore. The last camp was really like the last one where we couldn't because our coaches were still stuck away and this and that going on but yeah, like from the future going on, we're pretty much as good as back to normal.
There are some talks about August, Australia, UFC pay-per-view. There are some talks. I'm just saying, and it's just across the pond for you. So RDA, Dan Hooker, co-main event maybe, Australia pay-per-view. I could see that. No arguments from me.
Hey,
hypothetical.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Exactly. But yeah,
they're
this
obviously
is a fight.
Not going to tell me. They don't tell me. I've heard some things. That's all I'm going to say. Obviously, no one tells me this sort of stuff.
Yeah. Well, and then the whole thing about, okay, is Dan a featherweight? Is he a lightweight? And it's like, Dan's money weight.
Dan is fucking enormous at the moment.
So lightweight sounds good.
Dan is over. Dan, mate, I couldn't go to featherweight if I want, even if I wanted to. That's we've driven I never make the same mistake twice. I make it 5 or 6 times just to be sure. This was 7 times, so I'm sure that this is not happening again.
So you're 155, no doubt.
Man, I haven't been this big. I haven't been this big in years. I haven't been this big.
Well,
I haven't been this big in
You've
a
had
while.
a pretty hectic 2 years, man. Let's just keep it real. You've had a pretty hectic 2 years.
Yeah. It's just been. I need to write it all down, right? Because it's been just it's just been wild. Like the conditions that I've been fighting under, the last 2 years, I would say it's just, definitely difficult, and it does. I don't know, just all of that just does take a toll on your. I don't know, you obviously less time at home, less time with your family, less time with your coaches. It's just, it definitely does take a toll and take a tax. Because I'm a big guy on mind over matter, right? Mind over matter. But that's this last 2 years has taught me is that mind over matter works in certain situations, but not in all situations. You cannot rely on, and it's a bit of not a bit. Like it's just arrogance on my part too. Like there's like a lot of acknowledgement that I have to take. Like you're it's arrogance on my part, like thinking that I can beat like guys of these caliber on under the circumstances that I'm trying to do it under. Like it's crazy. And there's only one excuse for that, is that my approach is arrogant. So obviously you have to take a step back and like address that. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Yeah, this fight with RDA, man, it was talked about in the past 2 years.
I leave it. I was gonna leave it. I was just gonna leave it. I just said, hey, you know what? I'm gonna leave it. You know what I mean? I leave it. I go out. I go to. You guys have that over there? You have where you do the trampoline parks? You have trampoline parks?
Yeah.
Oh, I went out there. I went to the trampoline parks with my nieces on that. I was there all day. Come home, watch UFC. Still no one else. Still no one else said nothing. Well, hey, you know what I mean? I can only bite my tongue for so long. I'm not perfect. I can only bite my tongue for so long.
Well, that's a perfect way to end.
And there's only one way. And there's only one way that I can go about it. Good old fashioned smash your face in.
There you go. There you go, everybody. There's your if you had any questions, I'm pretty sure the last 5 minutes answered a lot of the questions that you've had. And next week we'll be back. And you never know.
Ooh,
Dan might have a fight.
Big one.
Dan might have a fight.
Probably not.
Probably not. But I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying it's possible.
August sounds good to me. That's all I'm saying.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, everybody. We covered a lot today, and hopefully this matchup does come to fruition. If it doesn't, Dan's always got a fun matchup anyways. Thank you so much. Subscribe, like, share, all of that good stuff. Dan, always appreciate the time, man. And let's see you guys next week. Peace.